This is the program that shows you the side of police chase videos they didn't want you to see. Bungled arrests, kamikaze crooks, and cop-based carnage of all kinds. Welcome to Cops Uncut, the real car crash TV.
On my way. Car's on fire.
Coming up in Cops Uncut, a bit of unnecessary violence from the police, some unnecessary jumping out of a car, and some weird hand-waving from a drunk.
260 at the corner. On my way.
It's been proven time and time again that standing on the side of a busy highway is just asking for trouble. But if you have to pull someone over, you don't have much choice. The best you can do as a cop is be ready to jump. So it's a good job that this police officer has been practicing his push-ups. When he realizes that there's a whacking great lorry headed straight for him, he only escapes by going right over the top of the car he's just pulled over.
Taking off again.
Back in 1991, the world was shocked by footage from an amateur video enthusiast that clearly showed several Los Angeles police officers beating 7 shades of crap out of speeding suspect Rodney King. Since then, you'd have thought the law enforcers might have been a bit more sensitive on matters of police brutality. But for some reason, it just doesn't seem to bother this gang of thugs who are obviously intent on doling out a serious dose of bodily harm. Even after the cuffs have gone on, the astonishingly candid display of bully tactics continues. The police even try playing a sick version of Watch the Birdie before getting stuck in again. He might well be giving the cops a hard time, but whatever this guy has done or said, there's no way he deserves treatment like this. Now that he's been beaten to a pulp, the cops wash their hands of their victim using special antiseptic gel. But while they might have managed to wipe away any telltale signs of their victim's blood, everyone seems to have forgotten that the squad car's dashboard camera is still running. These large bullies don't need any video footage from a random bystander to incriminate them. Someone left the dashboard camera running, and they managed to film the whole bloody thing themselves. Still to come on Cops Uncut. A lesson in how to get arrested by being stupid. And a cop loses his cool over a knocked-off hat.
260 at the corner. On my way.
Usually, uniformed police officers cut such an impressive figure that no one would dare mess with them. But every so often, you'll come across a crook who's not intimidated by the gun, the costume, or even the girth of his arresting officer. Take this routine traffic stop here. It starts in a relatively civilized way. But as soon as a subject of handcuffs is raised, the suspect decides he's going to fight the power. Naturally, policemen are all trained in the art of hand-to-hand combat, so this one-on-one should be a cinch for the arresting officer. But it isn't. It takes a few minutes of pushing, shoving, and shirt-pulling before this cop starts to remember his training. The cop tries out several precision techniques. The hold-on-tight method, the over-the-leg technique, and the over-the-bonnet method. But frankly, this cop's combat style leaves a lot to be desired. In fact, it's not until this completely unconnected passerby joins in that the arrest makes any progress beyond the level of a schoolyard scrap. Between them, the officer and his newly acquired assistant get the troublemaker on the floor. But the trooper's still struggling to get those silver bracelets on. So another casual bystander offers some helpful advice on handcuffing procedures. It's not until random tax-paying members of the public have done all the hard work that official backup arrives on the scene. And even though the suspect is already incapacitated, the cop in blue shows the original officer how it's done. When they don't find anything incriminating in the suspect's pockets, the cop checks under his woolly hat. They don't find anything there either, but the cops take the man away all the same. While no one's looking, this porky patrolman checks through the confiscated items again. Sadly, there's nothing for him to eat. Never mind. How to get arrested? You don't need to steal anything or kill anyone to get the attention of the cops. A spot of simple reckless endangerment will do. You could churn up the central reservation. Nip dangerously between vehicles with inches to spare. Spray your way through deep puddles. Or drive half on the shoulder and half on the verge. With driving skills like these...
Oh, he's gonna hit that car. Oh.
It's just a matter of time before you get stopped, either by the cops or by something very large coming the other way. With your ride well and truly rogered, you'll have to resort to some legwork. Find a nice, obvious hiding place, underneath the biggest satellite dish in the world, for example. Your friends will find you sooner or later and cart you off to a place where you'll be hidden away for ages. Coming up next on Cops Uncut. Eyebrows get singed when this wreck flares up. And a motorcyclist gives up on trying to run.
Like this.
At the side of this snowy Ohio highway, a very tall suspect is falling very short when it comes to passing his drink driving tests. The officer isn't very impressed with the suspect's performance.
You're not doing very good on my test.
And decides it's time to take him in.
Okay. Turn around, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest.
But the drunk has other plans.
Get out of the road. Get out of the road.
He performs a curious little jig with the two policemen.
Get out of the car.
After which the inebriated fool promptly gallops off into the night.
He's running across the road.
Several minutes later, the man returns for more merriment.
Get off the road. Get down on the ground.
This time the cops have got their pepper spray ready and attempt to squirt their juice directly into his eyes.
Down on the ground.
But his Bruce Lee praying mantis kung fu stance is no match for the mace. The drunk seems to think it's all just a game. He even tries to repossess his vehicle. But the keys have gone. So instead he knocks off a trooper's hat. Now things start to get serious. This officer swaps his pepper spray for a more forthright weapon, his nightstick. But even this has little effect. Unseen by the dashboard camera, the drunk assaults a passerby. At which point the cop upgrades his weapon of choice one final time. And the troublemaker is finally stopped.
Subject secured and handcuffed and shot.
This drunk flunks his tests.
You're not doing very good on my test.
And makes a big song and dance of it. But he takes one step too far. And the cops stop arguing and start shooting.
570 squad. Subject secured and handcuffed and shot.
As many of the policemen featured in Cops Uncut will tell you, one of the hardest parts of every law enforcer's job is getting the suspect out of his car so that you can cuff him and stuff him in the back of yours. But every now and then you'll come across a particularly helpful criminal who just wants his arrest to go as smoothly as possible. Take this situation. The guy ahead evidently wants to make it easy on the cops behind him, which is why he's driving round with his door open. That way, there's every chance that just round the next corner, he'll end up tumbling out of his motor without any police help at all.
One fell out, they fell out.
In this case, it appears that the police officer at the scene is slightly taken aback by the man's unorthodox exit strategy.
Get on the ground now! Get down on the ground now! Get down!
Which maybe explains why he's so intent on sticking to the standard script for arrest procedure.
Get on the ground now! Get on the ground!
Even though the bloke's quite clearly on the ground already.
You know what? I'm gonna slap your head. Get down on the ground. Get your head on the ground.
Perhaps it's a little too much to ask for the officer to actually show some gratitude. But his next suggestion clearly demonstrates just how confused he is by the suspect's self-sacrificing gesture.
In your car!
Mercifully, there are several other less bewildered policemen around to bring this incident to its natural conclusion. So, bear in mind that if you ever want to open your doors to the cops, then hold on to your seat. Otherwise, you'd better make sure you're prepared for the fallout.
One fell out, they fell out.
This grainy black and white footage might suggest that the squad car's dashboard camera is on the blink, but it's about to capture the shocking conclusion to a fast and furious police chase. After leading Texas traffic cops on a high-speed pursuit for hours, the suspect in the car ahead suddenly loses a tire. Sparks fly and one of them sets light to something on the underside of the car.
He's on fire, back off.
Unaware his car has turned into a 100-mile-an-hour fireball, the fugitive carries on his escape. Right up until the moment he loses control and comes skidding to a halt at the side of the road. The cops know that they've got to get the people out of the burning wreck as soon as possible. Because nobody should be inside any car when this happens. It should have been obvious that this situation could flare up at any moment. But none of the officers seem to want to tackle this inferno. In slow motion, we can see that these officers here should have got their suspect just a little further away from the ticking time bomb of a car before attempting to slap on the cuffs. Luckily, no one is seriously hurt, just a little hot and very bothered. In the golden era of 70s cop shows, police officers always used to travel in pairs. With 2 policemen to every squad car, it was easy to keep the streets clean. Sadly, there's only one officer in the cruiser pursuing the car ahead. Which is a bit of a shame, because when he runs off after these 2 young suspects,
23 to headquarters, I got 2 black males running northbound from Circle K.
there's no one to stop the car they've just bailed out of.
They ditched the car.
Which meanders its way across the road, thankfully causing no real damage. Look again, though, when a slightly more pressing issue appears. 2 other suspects climb out of the car in less of a hurry than the first 2 and are able to dust themselves off and stroll to freedom, with no one but the dashboard camera watching. The trucker in this speeding pickup is wanted for homicide, but all attempts to stop him so far have failed. The cops try to box him in, but the guy nips ahead, taking some of the lead officer's bumper with him as a souvenir. Unknown to the runaway, state troopers have set up a roadblock ahead. Thinking he's just hit a bit of rush hour traffic, the fugitive takes to the shoulder to beat the jam. But when he sees that he's come to the end of the road, he pulls over to the verge, ditches his truck, and leaps gazelle-like over the fence into the car park beyond. The suspect is fast on his feet, a lot quicker than the fat cops running after him. And he may well have got away if this random bystander didn't stick his neck out, or rather his foot, and help tackle the crook to the ground. And although the man seems well pleased with his own fancy footwork, the officer here would almost certainly get a red card for this kind of thing, murderer or not. With a suspected killer on the loose, the cops pull out all the stops, but it's not until this member of the public lends a handy foot that the police can really get stuck in. Still to come, a drunk driver dumps his wheels and forgets his handbrake, and a lesson in how to get taken down on 2 wheels. In the thick of this hot pursuit, officers from the Wisconsin State Patrol are about to find themselves holding the baby. The man they're chasing is wanted on suspicion of domestic violence. He's way ahead of the cops, having stolen his fiancée's car and driven off with their 8-month-old daughter. From a second, slightly poorer camera, we get a better view of the fugitive starting to lose his head. He slows down, opens his car door, and throws something out. Usually, when criminals dump something in the middle of a chase, it's because they're trying to get rid of incriminating evidence, drugs or stolen goods, for instance. But when the cops stop to investigate the suspicious package, they discover that the man has, in fact, booted his own baby out of the car and onto the hard tarmac in the middle of the road. Luckily, she's strapped firmly into a baby seat and survives the incident completely unharmed. Which is more than can be said for the little girl's dad. The pursuit resumes, but it's not long before the man runs into some serious trouble.
Then before he's rolled over, he hit the spikes and rammed the sheriff's car.
In hindsight, it's probably quite lucky the suspect ditched his daughter when he did. Otherwise, she would have been in the car when it crashed, and she might have suffered the same fate as her insane father. Still to come, a large coach intervenes at an intersection. How to get arrested. Contrary to what you might think, it's just as easy to get nicked riding a motorcycle as it is driving a car. For starters, you could make sure that the bike you're riding is stolen. Then try tailgating a black and white to see if you can get the officer's attention. Try not to make any clever right-hand turns like this guy, or the cops will wonder where you've gone. Also, try not to drive too fast. This wacko is weaving through the LA traffic at up to 130, and the cops just don't have a chance. Junctions are also a handy tool for the aspiring jailbird. Why not try parking in the middle of a busy intersection to see if someone will run you over? But if trying to get flattened by an oncoming truck doesn't work, it might be time to hold your hands up and just hand yourself over. But do remember, keep your crash helmet on at all times.
260 at the corner. On my way.
Michigan, and a cop pulls over another drink-driving suspect. As the driver exits the car, it suddenly takes off again, apparently on its own. And even after dumping the driver altogether, the car continues across the street towards a furniture shop. Which must mean one of two things. Either the car is looking to buy a new three-piece suite, or the man who was until recently driving it is so blind drunk he left it in drive. At this point, the customary roadside sobriety test would seem an unnecessary formality.
260 at the corner. On my way.
When you focus on the little things, sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture, particularly when the cops are right up your exhaust. The suspected blagger in this motor seems to be facing precisely this problem. He's very good at swerving deftly through the traffic on the busy LA roads. But when he's faced with a large, obvious obstacle like this coach, he just drives straight into it. So with his own ride and public transport simultaneously trashed, the crook has to resort to his feet to finish his escape. At which point he makes his second obvious blunder of the day, by turning round and legging it straight into the arms of the cops, who promptly sit on him until he promises to try a little harder next time. The bell's gone in the final round of today's Cops Uncut. Let's see how the judges scored it. Maximum points for style for the rapid reaction cop. 0 points for intelligence for the lawman who filmed himself kicking a criminal. No points for the dancing drunk who got shot. 1 bonus point for the bystander who felled a fleeing felon. And a full match forfeit for the runaway who threw his daughter from his car. Be careful out there.